Hey, what's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? Shalom. Shalom. For people who don't know what shalom means, it's the same as shalom, just in Paleo Hebrew. So, I just wanted to make this short video for you guys who may be doing ride share services. I just want to say that as a person who has done rideshare for there's a plane flying in the background. It's like a personal plane. This person was out there last week just gliding around, and they're doing it again today. But anyways, people who are doing Uber and Lyft, if you are not in a dire situation, to where you need money now, I will say stay away from doing ride shares services. Just stay away from them. And I mean ride share services as Uber and Lyft, those type of ride share services. Do not do them. Why? Because at the end, the drivers are being screwed. And this is coming from a person who has driven for Uber and Lyft for probably close to 7 years. Okay. I remember how it was when I first started off, and I remember how it is up until last year is when I stopped driving for Uber and Lyft. And if you look at some of my previous videos, you actually see me in the car while doing Uber and Lyft. So yeah, I have a lot of experience with it. Like I said, a little over 7 years experience of driving for Uber and Lyft. And like I said, if you're not in dire straits, do not do it. If you're not desperate, even if you are a little desperate, and what I mean by dire straits is if you need money ASAP, that's the only way I would recommend it to you. Because if you're trying to make a regular 9 to 5 out of it, you should stay away from it. Just try your best to find you a 9 to 5. And if you're in between jobs, yes, go ahead, do it until you find you a job. I know people make it seem like it's easy money, but it's not the same as it used to be. The dynamics have changed drastically since the economy has changed over the past 7 years, and fuel is way more expensive than it was back then, and it's going to cost you way more. And the reason why I say stay away from Uber as a 9 to 5, it's because Uber, I liken it to you starving, right? You're like on a deserted island and it's you, right? And you're desperate, right? There was this old cartoon, an old Looney Tunes cartoon from back in the day with Bugs Bunny, and there was these two guys who were stranded on the island. And while they were sailing on their boat adrift, stranded, they started to look at each other as pieces of food. And this one guy was about to cut his foot off and eat it. He put a little handkerchief on, had a little knife and fork, and was ready to eat his own foot, right? Another guy came over looking at it too, like, oh yeah, that looks good, right? And then he pulled his foot back like, no, we're not going to eat my foot. Well, that's kind of how it is doing Uber and Lyft. That's how I liken it to, you're hungry, you need money, right? So essentially, you're pulling your foot off and about to cut it off and eat it. And here Uber is like, hey, give me some of that foot. Let me get 60% of that foot, and I'll save you the other, 40% of the foot. Shit, hell, sometimes they're even like, hey, give me 70% of that foot, and I'll give you the other 30% of that foot. That's how bad it is with Uber and Lyft. And what I mean by that is that, you're out here, you should never be working when your bottom line is on the line. And what I mean by that is that, everything that you're doing is costing you. It's costing you, the driver. It's not costing Uber at all. At all. If your car breaks down, Uber's not paying for it. They may give you like some like discounts and stuff like that they probably give for free for working with certain companies and being sponsored or sponsoring certain companies. You see what I'm saying? and putting business their way. So it's not costing Uber when you have to fill up at the gas station, when you got to put hundreds of dollars every week into your gas tank. When your car breaks down, all of that, when everything happens, when you get a ticket, when you get beat up by your riders, when you get shot at, when you get stuff stolen from you, when all of that does not cost them. Now they will compensate you, say if a passenger does something to your vehicle, but all those other things you won't be compensated. If you get killed by an Uber rider, guess what? Your family is not going to be taken care of by Uber. And fill me in if I'm wrong on some things, because I'm not saying I'm 100% accurate, but from my experience, I've never seen these things. So that's what I mean by your bottom line. Because once when your vehicle goes, you're SOL. And yeah, I know people said that you can get vehicles from Uber and Lyft. You can lease vehicles, but that's still costing you at the end of the day. And it comes straight out of your account every week. Every week, you're paying these guys. So you should never work for anyone when your bottom line is on the line. And like I said, liking Uber to the whole cutting your foot off and eating it deal. That's essentially what you're doing, because you're running your car down. You're running your car down. You're running yourself down physically, mentally, and then you're running your vehicle down. You're putting all these miles on your vehicle, and miles add up eventually to something breaking. And you have to pay for it. So that's why I liken, Uber to you cutting your foot off and eating it, because you're going to need your foot. You're going to need your foot. Your foot is your car. Your car is your foot, and that's how you're going to get around and do things. But essentially, you're trying to use your car. You're devouring your own car just to try to generate money. And Uber is over there like, hey, like that guy in that Looney Tunes episode. He's like, hey, let me get 60 to 70% of that foot. Even though all I did was just give you an app to connect you to clientele. That's all. But they take a large chunk of the change, and they're not even working. They're not even using their vehicles. Yeah, they got computers and they're using human resources and all that stuff to get you that, but you can do all that on your own. Honestly, I know some people who actually, when they pick up a fare doing Uber and Lyft, they make them a list of clientele. They tell people, hey, you don't have to use Uber and Lyft. Here's my number. Call me when you need a ride. And they build up their own clientele. There are literally millions of people who do that around the world, and I know some people who actually do that. Some of them actually start their own legit businesses doing that, ride share services, so you can do that. They even tell me that there's apps out there that you can use that I guess connect you to people, or put people that you put down a list on there, so when they want to contact you for a ride, it can go through instantly. Something like that. I don't know. It's been a while since I talked to that person. It's probably like a year or two ago. I was too lazy to do all that, honestly, because it does take some work. But, you're essentially paying Uber and Lyft 60 to 70% for convenience. That's what you're paying them for. Because you're the one who's actually out here doing the footwork. You're the one who's actually out here driving to locations, using your car, using your fuel, using your resources to pick up these people and drop them off. And you're being paid like a slave to do so. I got fed up. The last time I drove for Uber and Lyft, it was last year. And I had about a week, right, before I went off to Chicago. And I was like, this is the last time I'm ever doing Uber. Last time I'm ever doing Uber. And it was because, I was just looking at it. I knew the whole time, but I was just looking at it, going through all my little way bills and all that stuff, and looking at the percentages that Uber was taking out. Because Uber, at first, they weren't so upfront with how much they were taking out. But I think like last year they did like some type of update where they show you how much you make. Well, it was only in certain markets, but my market was one of those markets. They will show you how much you will make beforehand, and of course they will show how much they made, and taxes and fees and all that stuff. And I saw that Uber was literally taking out about 65% of the fund. So people would literally, they were paying like $20 for a ride, right? I was only seeing about $4 of it. Only $4 out of a $20 ride. Why? Because Uber and Lyft was taking about 60% of it, and then a little bit of that was going, I would say probably like maybe 10-15% was going to tax and fees. Mind you, that Uber is getting some of, and and then I was getting the rest. I was getting the shillings, the shekels. I was getting the last little bits of the money that was that was left over. Essentially, that's what we're getting, are the leftovers, and we're the ones who out here putting in the hard work. We're the ones out here who are possibly sitting in our hot cars because we don't want to run up the AC. We don't want to burn up our gas by having the AC on, so we have our windows down. We're hot, we're burning, we're sweaty. We're the ones who has to deal with people's shitty attitudes. We're the ones who has to deal with bad traffic. We're the ones who have to deal with all these things, being attacked. We're the ones who's out here for, anywhere from 6 to 12 hours trying to make a living for our family. And Uber doesn't care. Lyft doesn't care. I remember there was a time where Uber and Lyft were competing, but now it seems like they're not even competing anymore. They're like, hey, we run this market, we're going to do whatever the hell we want. Uber was known as the bigger company. Lyft was known as the smaller company, but the nicer one, the one that will pay you more. They will take out no more than 20%, right? 15% at one point in time. Uber was taking like 20%. Now these people, God, like I said, 60 to 70%. It's crazy. So like I said, I'm a person who has driven for 7 years. I've seen a lot of changes, with both of the companies. And honestly, they do not have your best interests at heart. You are literally devouring your own self. I mean, honestly, it's not something a person should do unless you are extremely desperate and this is the only way you can generate money. Because you can generate some money. It depends on what market you're in. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are barely breaking even or not breaking even at all. And it's not even worth it to break even or barely breaking above even. That's not right. You know what I'm saying? It's not right at all. But anyways, that's all I have to say about that, guys. Probably make another video about Uber and Lyft in the future. I know I usually don't make this type of video, but I just thought I would make it because I know how I was being an Uber and Lyft driver. I know the struggles and the woes of being an Uber and Lyft driver, and it is so much better to actually have a job to where I don't have to devour myself. I don't have to do that anymore. Because before I drove for Columbus City Schools, and during the summer, that was my summer gig, doing that. But now I'm at a job to where I work year round. I make a good bit of money. I'm just gonna say that, with this job that I'm at now, and I don't have to go back to an Uber or Lyft, but I just hope people who are in that situation, that they can get out of that situation and that they don't make Uber and Lyft a full-time job at all. So yeah, anyways guys, that's all I have to say. I will talk to y'all later. Peace out. Shalom.